Hello everyone, and welcome to Study Studio. India just posted a surprising 8.2% GDP growth. But beyond the headlines lies your GS Paper 3 answer. In this video, we'll build that answer together, step by step. Let's begin. While the global economy seems to be hitting the brakes, India has just clocked a staggering 8.2% GDP growth, leaving many experts genuinely surprised. But what does this headline number actually mean? More importantly, how do you take this news and turn it into a high-scoring 15-mark answer for your UPSC Mains? In this video, we are not just going to talk about the news, we are going to write the perfect GS Paper 3 answer, step by step. We'll break down what's driving this growth, critically examine the challenges hiding beneath the surface, and build a forward-looking conclusion that will make you stand out. So, grab a notebook, and let's get decoding. Introduction: How to frame your mains answer. Friends, whenever a big economic number like this hits the headlines, you can bet it's a potential question for GS Paper 3. The question might be straightforward, asking you to analyze the recent GDP growth. Or, it could be more nuanced, asking about whether this growth is sustainable and what it means for inclusive development. Your introduction needs to be sharp, concise, and packed with data. It should immediately tell the examiner that you know what you are talking about. Here's a great way to frame it. According to the latest data from the National Statistical Office, NSO, India's real gross domestic product, GDP, saw a remarkable 8.2% growth in the second quarter of the 2025-26 financial year. This figure, a six-quarter high achieved despite global uncertainties, positions India as the world's fastest-growing major economy. The surge has been largely driven by strong domestic demand and excellent performance in the manufacturing and services sectors. See what that intro does? It hits three key points. It cites the official source, NSO, gives the headline stat, 8.2%, and offers a quick summary of the drivers. This is exactly the kind of clear, confident structure that scores high marks. With this foundation laid, we can build the main body of our answer. Section 1, the body, decoding the growth, the what, and the why. The body of your answer is where you earn the bulk of your marks, and it demands a multi-dimensional analysis. First, let's break down the key drivers behind this 8.2% surge. For clarity, you should use subheadings in your mains answer sheet, and we'll do the same here. Subheading 1, Revival of the Industrial Engine, the Manufacturing Push. So, what's lighting a fire under the industrial engine? A major part of this story is the sharp revival in manufacturing. The data shows the manufacturing sector expanded by a massive 9.1% in Q2 of FY 2025-26. That's a dramatic jump from the 2.2% growth seen in the same quarter last year. What's fueling this? Two government policies are key, and you have to mention them. First is the Production Linked Incentive (PLI) scheme. By giving financial incentives for increased sales, the PLI scheme has kickstarted production in key areas like electronics, pharmaceuticals, and auto components. This isn't just boosting domestic manufacturing, it's also making India a bigger player in global supply chains, attracting both Indian and foreign investment. Second is the Sustained Government Capital Expenditure, CAPEX. The government's relentless focus on infrastructure, think roads, ports, and railways under initiatives like the Gati Shakti National Master Plan, creates a powerful multiplier effect. This spending creates demand for steel and cement, directly firing up the industrial sector. This upfront government spending has been a consistent strategy to encourage, or crowd in, private investment. As a direct result, the construction sector also grew by a healthy 7.2%. Subheading 2, the Unstoppable Services Sector. The services sector continues to be the main workhorse of the Indian economy, with the tertiary sector as a whole growing by an impressive 9.2% in Q2. The star performer here is the financial, real estate. The JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, and UPI have built a digital backbone that fuels innovation. On top of that, the growth in professional services, like consulting and IT, shows a maturing economy with more demand for high-skilled jobs. India's services exports have also been a rock, staying strong even when other exports faced global headwinds. Subheading 3, Resilient Domestic Demand and Consumption Story. A key reason the Indian economy is so resilient is its huge domestic market. This growth cycle is no different. Private final consumption expenditure, PFCE, which is basically household spending, grew by a strong 7.9%. This is a huge sign that domestic demand is picking up, which is crucial for any sustainable growth. What's behind this spending boost? First, a period of mild inflation increased people's purchasing power. Retail inflation cooled down through 2025, even dropping to a record low of 0.71% in November 2025. It's what economists love to call a Goldilocks scenario: high growth and low inflation. The perfect recipe for consumption. Second, policy moves like rationalizing GST on consumer goods and providing income tax exemptions left more money in people's pockets. The Reserve Bank of India also played its part, cutting the repo rate by a cumulative 100 basis points over the year, making loans cheaper. The result? Better sales for cars and other consumer goods, showing that urban demand is firming up. Subheading 4: India's macroeconomic stability and global standing. This growth hasn't come at the cost of stability. In fact, it coincides with India hitting a major milestone. In 2025, India surpassed Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy, with a GDP of around $4.18 trillion. Now, projections show India is on track to overtake Germany for the number 3 spot by 2028 or 2030. This isn't just a headline, it's built on solid fundamentals. The current account deficit has been kept in check, thanks to strong services exports and remittances. Even the RBI has signaled its confidence, revising its own GDP growth forecast for the full year upwards from 6.8% to 7.3%. This mix of high growth, moderate inflation, and external stability is what makes the current moment so remarkable. Section 2: The Body, Critical Analysis, Challenges and Nuances. A great UPSC answer is never one-sided. After celebrating the positives, you have to show you can think critically by discussing the challenges. Subheading 1: The Uneven Nature of Growth. That 8.2% headline number is impressive, but when you look closer, you see an uneven recovery. While manufacturing and services are flying high, the primary sector, especially agriculture, grew at a more moderate 3.5%. It's still positive, but it's much lower than the other sectors, and agriculture is where a huge part of our workforce is employed. Even more telling is the mining. Relying on just a couple of sectors to pull the entire economy forward isn't a sustainable long-term plan. Subheading 2: The Consumption Conundrum, Broad-Based or Skewed? While 7.9% growth in private consumption looks great, there's a debate about who is doing the spending. Some economists argue it's mostly high-end urban consumers, who've benefited from the formal economy's growth and the stock market. This is often called a K-shaped recovery, where the rich get richer and the poor struggle. The real question is whether this consumption is broad-based and includes a real revival in rural demand. Some signs are positive, but others suggest rural spending is still fragile. For growth to be truly inclusive, the benefits of this 8.2% surge need to trickle down and boost demand for everyone, not just those at the top. Subheading 3: Persistent Global Headwinds and External Vulnerabilities. India's success story is playing out against a backdrop of global chaos. Major Western economies are slowing down, and geopolitical tensions keep messing with supply chains. While our strong domestic demand has been a great cushion, our exports are still vulnerable to global protectionism and slowing demand from key partners. India is working on it, negotiating free trade agreements, FTAs, with the UK, EU, and others to open up new markets. But the external environment remains a major uncertainty. A long global slowdown could eventually put a damper on India's growth. Another challenge is volatile foreign investment. While gross FDI looks healthy, net FDI has shown some weakness, which we need to address for stable financing. Subheading 4: The Data Quality Debate, an Advance Point. If you want to add an extra critical edge to your answer, you can briefly touch upon the ongoing debate around India's economic data. Some economists and agencies have raised questions about the methodology used to calculate GDP. Specifically, critics point to the gap between nominal GDP growth, 8.7%, and real GDP growth, 8.2%, which implies a very low inflation rate of just 0.5% was used for the calculation. They argue this might understate inflation and, as a result, artificially pump up the real growth figure. You don't need to take a side. Just mentioning that concerns have been raised regarding the GDP deflator, which adds a layer of complexity to interpreting the real growth figures, shows the examiner you're aware of the deeper nuances. Conclusion. Alright, how do we tie all this together in a powerful, forward-looking conclusion? Don't just summarize, offer a path forward. This is your chance to end on a high note. Here's a template. Ultimately, India's 8.2% GDP growth is a testament to its strong economic fundamentals and the resilience of its domestic economy in a tough global climate. Driven by a resurgent manufacturing sector, a dynamic services industry, and strong private consumption, it signals a decisive economic upswing. However, for this growth to be sustainable and lead to inclusive development, the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, a multi-pronged policy approach is essential. The way forward should focus on enhancing export competitiveness. Beyond relying on domestic demand, we need a renewed push for merchandise exports. This means quickly finalizing FTAs with partners like the EU and UK, but also improving our logistics and reducing the cost of capital for exporters. Ensuring inclusive and broad-based growth, policy must address the unevenness of this recovery. This requires targeted support for agriculture to boost productivity and incomes, along with a special focus on job-creating sectors like textiles and food processing. Boosting private investment. While government spending has led the charge, long-term growth needs the private sector to step up. Ensuring policy stability, simplifying regulations, and improving the ease of doing business are key to building investor confidence. Strengthening statistical infrastructure. To boost the credibility of our economic data and guide policy making, India must invest in its statistical systems, aligning them with the best international practices. By tackling these challenges with targeted reforms while building on our strengths, India can turn this high-growth moment into a long-term structural transformation, paving the way to become a $7 trillion economy and a developed nation. So, that's how you can structure a comprehensive, high-scoring answer on this crucial topic. We broke down the intro, analyzed the drivers, added a layer of critical analysis, and framed a perfect, forward-looking conclusion. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more decoded sessions. And let me know in the comments, what other challenges do you think India's economy faces on its path to becoming a $7 trillion economy? I'd love to hear your analysis. Keep studying, keep writing and practicing. We'll see you in the next video.